All right, we are live here once again on The Real Deal. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Harden. Play my intro real quick. All right, once again, we're live here in Philly, April 9th. It is 6 p.m. Eastern Time, a little late evening Real Deal podcast. Once again, I'm your host, as always, Courtney Harding. Glad to be back with a new episode. You see the background, it's that time. NBA regular season is complete tomorrow, and the playoffs start, the play-in games, the playoffs, and all that good things. So, again, I'm glad that everyone is tuning in. I'm super excited. I got a great, I don't even call her a guest. What I do, she's like family. She's podcast family. She's good people and all that. So I'll be bringing her on in a few minutes. But again, thank you everyone that's tuning in. We're live on Roku TV, Roku BS3 TV. Download the BS3 TV app. You can get it on Roku channel as well. You can also follow on YouTube. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on my Twitter at Get the Real Deal on Twitter, and BS3 network.com is where you can get all of our shows. That's the network, bs3network.com. So follow all of our shows there. We got shows with a little bit of everything. We have from sports, TV, and movie reviews, social issues we talk about. They talk about politics, cooking, a little bit of everything. That's what the network is. We got I think 30 shows on the network. So follow that as well, bs3network.com. So follow all the shows there. You can follow me on Twitter at Get the Real Deal. Also at Courtney110979 on Twitter. If you just Google The Real Deal with Courtney Harden, you can find all the shows there. We're on all streaming podcast platforms. That's Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcast. Also, we're on Spreaker. Like I said, just Google BS3 TV, BS3 Network, and The Real Deal. You can get all the shows there. So without further ado, like I said, NBA playoffs is here. I'm super excited, and I can only do this. I can't do this all alone. I had to bring a guest. I had to bring one of my favorite people. Like I said, we've been on each other's shows I don't know how many times now. It's just like I said, it's like family. She just comes on in. I invite her in. She just comes on in, put her feet up, and we're ready to chat it up. So I got Ruth the Truth coming.
What's up, Courtney? Yes, I'm that guest that is no longer a guest. I'm coming in your house. I'm opening that fridge. I'm eating or drinking your milk without a cup. I'm that person.
Yes. You just invited into the house. Like I said, she kicks her shoes off. She comes in, kicks her feet up. She's just chilling on the couch, and we're just chatting and watching sports. But I got Ruth the Truth, podcaster, broadcaster, reporter, multimedia talent. I mean, she does a little bit of everything. So you see her all over social media as well, just chatting it up about sports, about not just sports, just a lot of different topics, life in general. Yes. She lives the best life. She travels. She does everything. You just came back from somewhere too. You was in Vegas, right?
Yes, I was in Vegas for a wedding. I'm actually considering doing a travel blog because I travel so much, and I anticipate on going to a lot of different countries in the next couple of years. So I'm actually thinking about transitioning into, having a little segue of where I could put all my travel excursions so you guys could keep up with me. But yeah, it's good to be back on the Real Deal podcast. Make sure you guys are hitting that share button down below, that retweet button. Go ahead and give Courtney Harden and I a share or a follow on Facebook, as well as Twitter and Instagram. We stay pretty active. And yeah, it's NBA playoffs time. My birthday is a week away, but I can't even think about my birthday right now because all I'm thinking about is this NBA playoffs. And I'm super excited. I have every plan on going to an NBA final game this season. So I'm really excited to get the playoffs started and going because NBA championship, we're about to crown a champion in the next couple months, guys. So I'm pretty excited to be here.
Yeah, definitely. Can't wait to dive into it with you. Like I said, we talk all the time, so we're so active on social media, but we have a lot of great conversation off camera. So that's why we know you're good friends. We can have that off the camera and then now with the camera. So and now you've moved too as well. I know you've been trying to get your house all in order and everything too. So you're like, I want it because I remember when I reached out to you, like, yeah, I want to jump right into some NBA talk with you. And I say, let's do it. Let's do it now. Be right before the playoffs start and everything too. So I got to shout out Ben Sutter for jumping into the chat. He says, good evening, Courtney and Ruth.
What's up, Ben?
Yeah, he's the creator of the BS3 network. Follow him. Follow all of his shows. We got the late night with BS3. Not sure if he's got a show tonight, but just follow the network. So, but yeah, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it and everything too. But yeah, talk about the move first. But before we get into that, we did have some news of Dwayne Haskins tragically passed away earlier today in a car accident. Someone hit him, and he was 24 years old, quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, also played for the Washington Commanders and everything in Ohio State as well. So we want to just send our condolences and prayers to his family on this, very sad news when we heard that. So what was your thoughts, first and foremost, Ruth, on the Dwayne Haskins news?
I was laying down on the couch, just got finished scarfing down some lunch, hanging out with the family, and everybody was relaxing in the living room. And then I look at my phone and I see the news and I jump up immediately. I feel bad for my nieces that were right next to me, that I kind of freaked everybody out. And I was just like, oh my goodness, is this legit? Is this real? Obviously getting an ESPN notification. Usually when things go to ESPN and it goes to CNN. Real. It's pretty real. So right. I started doing my research and I'm like, this isn't really making any sense to me. Like, he got hit by a dump truck, like on a highway in South Florida. Yeah. So, doing a little bit more research, I guess he was in South Florida to be training with some of his fellow teammates with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I guess they were going to some type of training session early this morning, and his car ran out of gas on the 595. And I guess that's why he was trying to cross the street, maybe trying to get some help into putting some gas in his vehicle, or whatever malfunction was going on with his vehicle. And that's when he was struck by the dump truck, which is incredibly sad, incredibly unfortunate. I mean, this young man at 24 years old still had a long life ahead of him. And yes, there was a lot of criticism when it came to his football NFL career. But at the end of the day, he's still human. He's still somebody's son. He's still somebody's husband. I'm not really sure. I'm not aware if he was a father. I'm really hoping he wasn't, but I'm not really sure. But it's very tragic to hear some news like that. And it's really shocking. And at the end of the day, a lot of people, I know Adam Schefter is receiving a lot of backlash about breaking the news, as well as mentioning his lackluster NFL career. And he's been getting a lot of criticism in that. But I mean, it's true. At the end of the day, I'm trying to almost not defend Adam Schefter, but I'm kind of like, guys, let's not derail from what is really happening. I know that you guys are insulted by the words somebody decided to tweet, but at the end of the day, a life was lost today, and that's way more important than what Adam Schefter decided to put on his Twitter account. But all in all, just completely tragic, really upsetting. It's something that shouldn't have happened. I'm later on, when more details of the tragedy comes out, we can kind of piece together what really happened on April 9th at a little after 6:30 a.m. on the Eastern Standard Time. Just devastating news. I mean, with Ben Roethlisberger retiring for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I was thinking that maybe Dwayne Haskins was really going to have a chance to compete for that starting position as their QB1 in Pittsburgh. And I know Mike Tomlin had a lot of great things to say about Dwayne Haskins. A lot of his teammates had a lot of great things to say about him. Mason Rudolph took to Twitter and just tweeted that he was devastated that he lost a friend today. And it's just very upsetting news. And it's one of those moments where the public can kind of take a moment, take a deep breath, and realize that beef that you may have with somebody is not worth never getting the opportunity to squash that situation. So hug your loved ones. If you're upset with somebody, sit them down, have a coffee, talk about it, hash it out. Life's too short. Doesn't matter how much money you have. When it's your time to go, it's your time to go. So just always be prepared and always make sure that you're spreading positivity, because you never know when it's going to be your last day. But completely tragic. Dwayne Haskins, I'm so sorry that this happened to you. This is something that could have been avoided. I wish we had a time machine because it was just it's something that really shouldn't have happened. I'm very sorry for his family, for his wife, everybody that his close ones. It's a very tragic story, but it's not the way that we wanted to start the day. That's for sure.
No, definitely, and it's very well said. And I don't have much to add to that because, like I said, it was very tragic, very sad news. Just 24 years old, so young, and he's going to be turning 25 soon. Actually, I think in a month.
Yeah, he has the same birthday as my older brother. So when I saw him May 3rd, I was like, wow, yeah, his birthday was literally right around the corner.
Right around the corner. So very sad news, as you said. Just all the reports that are coming out there talking, like I said, talk about his career and everything. Like I said, a life was lost. And I know Adam Schefter is just doing his job, but I tell you one thing, he's being dragged through the mud a lot with some of the reporting he's been doing over the last months or whatever. And I know he's an insider. He's trying to get in, and he should have just reported of just, the tragic news and just saying, rest in peace and condolences to his family and his friends and
leave it at that.
And leave it at that. You don't have to talk about his football career. You can add that something like he played for his X and Y team and everything, but nothing to do with his what he's done on the field. You didn't have to add all that. It wasn't the time for that. So but like you said, the bigger story is the tragic news of him passing away. And like I said, we're just gonna definitely keep praying for his family and his friends, and just like I said, it's just a loss, and that they get some type of comfort and through this time too. So definitely sad news. So so let's transition into, like I said, you were moving and you're moved and everything. You try to get everything together and everything too. And what else you've been up to? With the the traveling and getting your house. And
also, the reason why there's so much traveling is because I'm kind of homeless right now. I was moving into a new condo in downtown Tampa. Very, very excited. But the contractors made a huge mistake and they accidentally flooded the entire floor that affected not only my unit, but 12 other units in the condominium, as well as all the, the public areas, like the movie theater room. It even ruined the gym. And I felt bad because I'm a gym rat myself. And I'm like, I can't believe they really messed up the gym. But yeah, a lot of turmoil with that situation. It's ongoing, a little over a month now. But things are looking up. The floors are getting put down next week, and then the kitchen's getting done. So things are starting to fall into place. But this is one of those times where God is just like, you know what? I'm going to teach you some patience. And it's just one of those moments. And I'm very accepting to it. So, because the older I get, the more patience I'm starting to learn. And I'm okay with that. It's a good thing. So other than the moving stuff, I've been doing a lot of traveling. I've been having a lot of birthdays celebrating lately. Good friends, family members. One of my really, really good friends just eloped in Las Vegas last week, which was really exciting to be a part of that. I went to Colombia for a couple of days to celebrate a friend's 30th. My 29th birthday is coming up next week on the 18th. April 18th, Team Aries. 29, my last year in my 20s. So very excited about that. And I just got my acceptance letter to USF. So I'm going back to school to complete my degree in multimedia journalism and digital communications. So a lot of positive things happening, and 2022 is definitely going to be my year.
No doubt. It is definitely your year. Like I said, keep grinding, keep killing it, keep doing your thing. And you said, God's got a lot of good plans for you and everything. So it's been, I love seeing the journey. And say we've been connected for the last couple of years, and I love seeing your journey and everything, where you're progressing and just continue to keep processing and all that. So best of luck and everything, and blessings to all things you got going on. So I know we'll stay connected. So, but
as always, and I love social media. I love social media because it's able for us to stay intact and for us to, bounce ideas off each other. Oh, did you hear about this? Oh, what do you think about this? So it's a great thing. Follow us on social media down below. RUTH the Truth with 3 H's at the end. I'm pretty active on Twitter, so I love to get into some great knowledgeable sports conversations. So bring on the questions.
Bring it on. So you got a couple shout outs here. Mr. Damian Adams, thank you. He was on the show last week. Thanks for tuning in. Also, we got T-Rod, Taryn Rodriguez saying good afternoon to both of us. He also shouts you out saying good for you, Ruth. You got this when it comes to finishing school.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate you guys tuning in as well. All right, well, let's get into this NBA talk. This is what we do. This is how we do this. This is how we do this. So the playoffs are almost here. Got the playing games. Regular season ends tomorrow and everything too. Let's start with the disappointing teams first. Let's start with the LA Lakers over there in Los Angeles, and they did not make they got eliminated a couple of days ago. LeBron, he's been sitting out because of the ankle injury. This season's just been a huge disappointment. I've been hearing that been listening and seeing a lot of things about the reports about that this is the most disappointing year for a team ever and everything. I'll have to look back and see, okay, what's disappointing, because they did have high expectations going into the season. When we talked about that beginning, they had very high expectations. I didn't think they were going to make the finals because they were just too old. Even with a LeBron and a healthy AD, I just didn't feel like the pieces just didn't mix. Even getting Russ, getting Dwight Howard back, and Carmelo, and these guys are older players, veterans and everything too. I just felt like they weren't gonna. I thought they were gonna make the playoffs, but not make a lot of noise. So, well, what did you think of the Lakers season and how it ended? And they're not even in the play-in games as well.
Yeah, I mean, not being in the play-in tournament was a huge surprise.
Yeah.
I mean, if you would have told me in the beginning of the season that the Lakers wouldn't even make the play-in, I would have laughed at you. I would have been like, did you not see the roster that they just orchestrated with Anthony Davis, with Russell Westbrook, with Carmelo Anthony? They signed Isaiah Thomas to a 10-day contract, LeBron James. I mean, they won the championship in 2020. And yeah, their roster looks a lot different, but I wouldn't put it past them because it's LeBron James. You never put your money against LeBron James. I learned that the hard way back in 2012 in I believe it was the Eastern Conference semifinals against the Pacers. I put some money on that, and it didn't work out in my favor. So I learned my lesson. I don't put my money against LeBron. But yeah, I mean, you're 11-29 at home. You're 2-8 in the last 10 games. I'm sorry, you're 21-20 at home. You're 11-29 on the road. You've won 2 of the last 8 games. I mean, Russell Westbrook, you earned yourself a new nickname that is really, really hard not to say. I've been trying my best not to say that, and I've been trying to call him by his government name, but I mean, when it comes to the Lakers organization, it's really hard to say like, oh, this was the most disappointing season, because if I'm not mistaken, they haven't made it to the playoffs I think they made it to the playoffs twice in the last 9 seasons. So it hasn't been an overwhelming difference. But I mean, when you have LeBron James on your roster, when you have Anthony Davis on your roster led by Frank Vogel, have Carmelo Anthony in the backcourt, I mean, there's just a lot of expectations that are set with the Lakers organization. So did they hit that expectation? Absolutely not. It was almost kind of definitely unraveling towards the middle of the season when Anthony Davis came back and then got hurt again. And then LeBron had issues with his knee. And then now I believe he's dealing with a left ankle sprain that has kept him out in the last couple games. And he was receiving a lot of criticism about not playing against the Golden State Warriors, not playing in these last couple games, because they were like, oh, well, if he's healthy, if he's available, he should be playing it, regardless of whether or not they're going to be able to make it into this play-in tournament. But overall, Lakers, big head shake. There's going to be a lot of players that are going to come into question in the offseason, whether they're going to return for the 2023 season. I know a lot of Anthony Davis talk about whether or not he should be traded, about what Russell Westbrook, whether or not he should be on the move. There's been a little bit of rumors about Michael Jordan with the Charlotte Hornets have been showing some interest in maybe trading for Russell Westbrook. And I think going to Carolina or going to Charlotte would be a great move for Russell Westbrook, because he wouldn't have an all-star player or a star other than LaMelo Ball to really compete against. So I think that could be a good fit for him in Charlotte. But I mean, it's an old roster. I think their average age was 34 years of age on the Lakers roster. They got rid of a lot of key pieces that were a part of their success in 2020. I mean, you get rid of Alex Caruso, who was a big playmaker. You got rid of KCP, who was a big playmaker as well. You got rid of Kyle Kuzma, who pushed the ball down the court. So there's just a lot of head scratching moments for the Lakers and their front office, and I think a lot of them right now are kind of scattered about who's taking the blame, whose fault is it, where do we go from here. But I think Magic Johnson hit a nail on the head when he mentioned that LeBron James needs to be taking a little bit of responsibility of the responsibility pie. He needs to be taking a nice little slice of that, because
Yes.
there were talks about DeMar DeRozan having interest coming to LA and playing in a Lakers jersey. And when Magic Johnson got that call about DeMar DeRozan being interested in being a Laker, he contacted the Lakers and was like, we got to make this happen. This kid wants to come home. I mean, we're talking about DeMar DeRozan, like all-star player, future Hall of Famer. We need to get him on this roster. But there was already talks of Russell Westbrook making his debut in LA. And I think that was probably LeBron James saying, you know what, I want my boy Russ on this roster. We're going to, compete for a championship. We're going to be legitimate. So I think LeBron needs to take a little bit of responsibility of the dysfunction with the Lakers organization. But overall, I'm really interested to see what their roster is going to look like next season. And I want to know if it's really true about Frank Vogel, the head coach of the Lakers, having to ask permission from the front office about switching up his starting lineup. I mean, they had 40 different lineup changes for the starters this season. So did he have to ask all 40 times? Very interesting topic with Frank Vogel. And I don't know if Frank is trying to take a step back from the fire and be like, hey, my hands were tied. Like this isn't me. Like I did what I could, but at the end of the day, I didn't have full control. But a lot of question marks surrounding the LA Lakers. And it's just weird to actually think that we're going into a playoff without LeBron James. I think that's like the biggest shocker for me, because I mean, the man sells tickets. He has a lot of fans. He earns a lot of respect around the league. So for him not to be in the playoffs, I don't think is a really good thing for the NBA as a whole. So we're going to have to see how he bounces back next season.
I agree. 100% agree with everything you said. And there's a lot of blame. The comments said they were disappointed to the people who thought they would be disappointed. I thought they would at least make the playoffs and lose in the first round. I think that when they constructed the roster, we at least thought they could actually get to the playoffs. But now that was a disappointment that they did not make the playoffs. They even make the play in. And I believe too that the blame needs to go to a couple of different people. I think it needs to go to Russell Westbrook because of the play. He just couldn't adjust with anything what they were trying to do, and they weren't adjusted to his game, and he didn't adjust his game to fit what the Lakers were asking for. Who knows what their game plan was? I think AD gets some blame because unfortunately he can't stay healthy anymore, and he never could. It's like throughout his career, his body just breaks down. I don't know what it is. I don't know if
I do. I know what it is. Courtney, you want to know what it is?
Yeah, what is it? What is it?
About, I believe 2 years ago, when Anthony Davis was in transit to LA, he came and had dinner at the restaurant that I was serving at called Planet Hollywood at Disney Springs. Now he showed up with like 25 members of, I believe it was his family. It looked like it was his family. A lot of them had the matching unibrow, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So definitely his family. But the amount of milkshakes and sweets and desserts that was ordered to their table, it was just kind of like, wait a minute, Anthony, like you can't be eating like this. You got to go run down the court in like a month and a half. Like what's going on? So I think a lot has to do with how he cares for his body in the off season.
Oh, yeah.
And as an NBA professional, you got to do more than what's just in the regular season. This is your full-time job. So you have to take care of your body in the off season. If not, you're going to see the repercussions in the season. You're not going to be healthy. You're going to have to deal with injuries in and out of games. So I think that talks a lot about Anthony Davis and maybe his dedication to the game. But I mean, I have all the respect for LeBron not wanting to place the blame on Anthony Davis, because I know that's his boy. I mean, they won a championship together in 2020. So he's trying to kind of steer away from, everybody putting the blame on Anthony, but him not being available for what was it, 37 games, something like that? 37 games this season. A lot of games,
37.
Yeah, I mean, you get paid the bag. You get paid millions of dollars to be available on the court. So when you're not available on the court and you're only hurting your team, and it just it gives a lot of people ammunition to talk negatively about street clothes Anthony Davis.
Yeah, street clothes Anthony Davis. That's funny because he has bulked up since, when they won that championship in 2020, the bubble finals, the bubble championship. Anthony Davis was hungry, he was healthy, and then he was injured even that season until they had a 4-month layoff, and he got healthy, and then they went on a run. The Lakers went on a run in the bubble, but ever since then, as you said, I don't know if it's the motivation, the lack of motivation. It's the he bulked up. He's not has the speed that he used to have, and then because now you look at him now, he's kind of just lugging up and down the court and anything. I don't know if it's the extra weight, him bulking up in the way he was. So it could be a little bit of everything. It could be a combination of a lot of things. So you have that with Anthony Davis. I think LeBron takes a little bit of blame, just constructing this team the way he wanted it constructed. So that's another issue, because you said LeBron does. He had a tremendous year at 37 years old, averaging almost 30 points a game, over 30 points a game.
He had to.
Yeah,
the man had to.
Just for them to be in games.
Mm-hmm.
And that's you can't put that on LeBron anymore to average 30 points on that body.
At 37 years old.
37 years old on that body. The man has played over 50,000 minutes, playoffs, finals, and regular season. And you're putting that on him. So then the team just wasn't constructed right. That goes from the front office to some of these certain players. They're old, and so it's a huge disappointment. It was I don't know if it's the most disappointing, but it is. Like, you have LeBron James, you think you're going to make the playoffs. You say you think you're at least going to make the playoff and everything too. Another question I wanted to ask you. Bill Simmons brought up a good point when he said, okay, LeBron James has been on the Lakers for 4 years now. So Laker fans, they can't be as disappointed with him because they did lead him to one championship. But when you thought LeBron, that 4-year run, he's made they won one finals. He made the playoffs one other time. That was last year, and now he's missed the playoffs twice in that 4-year stretch. If you were the Laker fan, would you be disappointed in the LeBron 4-year run? This is what you wasn't expecting. You probably expected playoffs every single year, but like I said, he missed the playoffs twice. They got bounced out last year in the first round by Phoenix, and now he didn't win a championship in the bubble. What do you think of that? I thought it was a pretty good assessment. You wasn't expecting him to miss the playoffs two out of the last 4 years.
Yeah. I mean, the standards that LeBron is held to, I feel bad because he sets the bar so high. So when you don't come anywhere close to where you yourself have set the bar, I mean, I kind of feel bad because he has so much he has to work for. But if I was a Lakers fan, because I was always a Kobe's fan, but I wasn't like a very dominant Lakers fan growing up on the East Side. I was always more of the Boston Celtics and Orlando Magic, obviously living in Orlando for 20 years. But if I was a Lakers fan and I were to assess the 4 seasons that we have LeBron James, we won a championship. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Let's stay on that positive note. Did we have disappointing seasons where I believe 2 of them didn't even make a playoffs? Yeah, got an early bounce off last season against the unstoppable Phoenix Suns. Yep. I mean, facing them in the first round was just unfortunate, but they got themselves in that situation with how they played in the regular season when it came to their seeding. But I mean, I'm always trying to be a positive B, so I'm going to be like, you know what? We got a chip. We came out of our drought where we haven't had a national championship, and if I'm not mistaken, a decade at least, since before that when they won the championship in, I believe, in 2009, 2010.
Yep.
So I mean, they squashed that little gap of not winning a championship. So I would be happy about that. Now, in the last 2 seasons, I mean, when you're coming from a Laker organizations that you're used to at least being in playoff contingency, I would be disappointed. I mean, I just, you don't want to see your season get cut short. We're about to watch 3 more months of basketball, and the Los Angeles Lakers aren't going to be anywhere on that. And I mean, that doesn't do good for the organization. That doesn't do good for the fan base. That doesn't do good for the players. Now they get all this extra time off that we don't want Anthony Davis to have more time off, because it doesn't seem like in his off time he puts basketball first.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I was a Lakers fan, I'd be a little disappointed right now. Would I be completely butthurt saying that, we should ship off LeBron James, we need to get him out of here? I mean, I think that's a little bit too quick to jump on that train.
Yep.
But I would be, I would feel some type of way. I wouldn't be all as chipper as 2020 Lakers fan, but at the end of the day, you got LeBron James, you got a good front office, and I think this is Rob Pelinka, the GM. This is his time to shine because he's received a lot of criticism, especially with this roster. But everybody wants to say it was all LeBron. So I think LeBron right now needs to take a step back and be like, y'all do what you got to do. I'm going to be here to perform the way I perform on the court. I don't care who you guys go get. It's not going to be on my back where everybody's going to be able to place blame on me if it doesn't work out. So you front office, you Rob Pelinka, the GM, basketball personnel, Magic Johnson, who I think is still involved in the organization. You guys conduct the roster the way that you guys want to conduct it. I'm just going to come back next season and ball the way I know how to ball.
Yeah, I agree. I think, when you brought that up, I was like, LeBron missed the playoffs twice, and now this twice now, and they won the championship, and then they were first round bounce. They got bounced out of the first round last year. I wouldn't be like you said. Yeah, I would be okay. I wouldn't like the Lakers just have. Like you said, it's always championship, and that's the expectation. And they're that organization that's a championship organization, so they think playoffs and championship each and every year. And when they got LeBron James 4 years ago, they probably figured, oh, we're going to run off a couple of at least some playoff runs. But the way the front office, the way they got rid of, you name those players, Caruso, KCP. I mean, could you imagine if they would have kept some of these guys? I know the Lakers wanted to keep Caruso, or Caruso at least wanted to stay there. And the Lakers front office was like, no, we're going to have to, we got a chance to get Russell Westbrook.
They didn't want to pay him. They didn't want to pay Alex Caruso, and he was such a vital part of them winning the chip in 2020. So it was really shocking that they went for the shiny toy other than the person that's been there putting in the work that might look dull because he's not a superstar. But, I mean, he was there putting in work and put in the grit to help you guys win a championship. So I think losing Alex Caruso and KCP were the biggest mistakes in the Lakers offseason last year.
Yeah, because I know they don't have any really young assets where
they have no depth. Yeah, exactly.
No depth. And then now the coaching, and that's another one. Now Frank Vogel, he's getting a lot of heat, a lot of blame. They were a bad defensive team. So when they won the championship, they were a good defensive team. But like I said, you get older players like a Carmelo, which I love Melo. But he's not the same Melo he was 5-10 years ago. So he can't play so many minutes. Dwight Howard's not the same guy anymore. So it's like they had Trevor Ariza, another older player. So they just had an old roster. Yeah. And Frank Vogel can only do so much. So even if you fire him, who do you bring in? I know there's rumors of Doc Rivers.
Yeah.
But I don't think even Doc Rivers or anybody else can really do anything with this roster. They don't have, they don't have much depth, or they can't make any trades. Even to get rid of Westbrook.
But I think that's where you could really, I guess, test the abilities of your head coach is when you put them, when they have their backs up against the wall, when they have a roster that may not be mixing well. That's your job as a head coach to figure something out. Put Westbrook on the bench, have him come out as a sixth man, like switch things up. I mean, as much as I don't want to blame Frank Vogel for the monstrosity that was the LA Lakers, I do believe that he has a little bit to blame. I don't know if it was him having his hands tied behind his back where he couldn't make executive decisions when it came to roster changes, lineup changes, things of that sort. But I mean, anybody can win an NBA chip if you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis with supporting cast and a great center. It's easy to be like, your job becomes easy at that point because it's like LeBron, Anthony Davis, do y'all thing. Y'all been playing, y'all figure it out. So I think right now was a really big test for Frank Vogel, and it didn't really seem like he passed because I feel like they should have at least been in that 10th seed where they could have been in this play-in tournament. So I think Frank Vogel deserves at least 1/4 of that. What was I calling it? The blame pie. He deserves at least 1/4 of that.
So I think it's him. Like I said, I think it's Vogel. I guess you could put the front office gets a lot of blame. I think Westbrook, he gets some. Anthony Davis, because he just can't stay healthy.
Do they trade Anthony Davis? I mean, you've already seen how in and out he's not reliable. You can't depend on him to play 50 games in one season. So do you move on from Anthony Davis while he still may have a little bit of trade value? Because everybody still looks at Anthony Davis as being this superstar caliber player, 7-footer that could shoot the three beyond the arc. can play defense, can get 2 steals in a game. Do you move on from him, or do you try to give it another shot and maybe just cross your fingers and hope that he has a better off-season plan for him to be healthy when it comes into next season? Like, what do the Lakers do? Do they gamble? Do they roll the dice with Anthony Davis, or do they try to get a couple first-round picks for him now?
I know that's a good question. I think that's the only thing they can actually do to get assets. I think Anthony Davis is the only piece that they can actually try to move. I don't know if they're going to move him. I think they have no choice but to run it back with this same roster. And I mean, I don't know what I mean. They have to stay healthy. I mean, they because LeBron, like I said, he wasn't healthy much either. But like he's 37 years old, so you could see him getting injured, unfortunately, because he's breaking down. He's playing a lot of minutes, and his body just can't take it as much anymore. Anthony Davis breaks down, and he's injured, so they got to get these guys healthy to stay healthy. And I think they're going to have to run it back. I mean, if they do trade Anthony Davis, like you said, he's still a top 10, 15 player in the league when he's healthy because, as you said, the versatility. I always called him when they have Anthony Davis, he's the X factor. He was a superstar X factor because of the versatility. He can defend. He doesn't defend as he used to. He doesn't have the quickness like he had a couple of years ago. And they admit that's the health, that's the motivation or lack of it. I don't know. It is interesting. So I just want to get.
And as Damian said in the comments, like you would think that LeBron James would have an influence on AD and his nutrition and how he cares for his body in the offseason and during the season to keep him healthy. Yeah. But at the end of the day, he's a 29-year-old kid. He's going to do what he wants to do. He has all the money in the world to go out and spend time with friends and maybe eat unhealthy and not make basketball a number one priority in his life, especially with somebody who's been playing basketball his whole entire life. Yeah. Maybe he's thinking, the 20s are supposed to be the most selfish years of my life. So I'm going to do what I want, when I want, eat what I want. And, it's just with him being a 7-footer, with him being as lanky as he is, and I've said this on my podcast as well, I think he should take some dancing classes because it could really help him with his balance and how he lands and things of that nature. Because I feel like a lot of Anthony Davis's injuries come down to him landing wrong. Yeah. So if you were to take some like ballet classes, jazz classes, you really learn how to contort your body in different ways for you to avoid injuries. So I think something has to be done. I think AD got the hint at this point that if things don't change quickly, your situation of where you're playing is going to change quickly. We might send you back to the Pelicans where you are no longer welcomed. So I don't know. A lot's got to be done. I know being a gymnast at a very young age, my mom put me in gymnastics when I was 3, and I'm so glad that she did because I feel like that really projected me and my athleticism with playing softball, with playing basketball, with playing flag football, with doing track and field. I really feel like that kind of set the standard because you learn balance, you learn how to move your body, you learn a lot of things about your body. So I think Anthony Davis just needs to do a little bit more research and take a little bit more time into perfecting his craft.
Yeah, you're right. And I think that's a great idea because you said take that balance. And I know a lot of football players, they've taken that to keep their balance and stuff. And Damian says that's a good idea. I agree. That'll help with his balance and being limber because his bones just seem like they have to get a little bit stronger. And I guess it's the way his body is constructed. I guess it's just he just has brittle bones and any type of, he falls on his ankle. You're holding your breath every time he falls on the ground. And
I cringe. I close my eyes and I'm like, did he get up? Did he get up?
It's like the earlier of Derrick Rose's career. It was like he played at such a high level, and all that up and down. Dwayne Wade was the same way. It was like you fall so much and your body just crumbles sometimes. Carson Wentz. I mean, at his young age, he's brittle. Like it's just. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe the way their bones and there's like you said, there's exercises and things like that they can do to strengthen their core, to strengthen their body and everything. So maybe that's what Anthony Davis needs to do. And you said that sweet tooth, as you said, he needs to stop with those.
I witnessed it. I was like, whoa. Like, this is not This is not an NBA player type of nutritional plan. What's going
Right,
on here?
right. And Damien, as the New Orleans fan, said they're good. We don't want AD back and everything. So, and he's got a guy, Zion Williamson. We talked about that in our last show that we did about
Oh
him and
man.
his body, and you know, the overweight and everything of the weight that he carries.
Yeah.
That's messing up his body too. So I hope he
Yeah,
can get back healthy.
the Zion Williamson, it's so disappointing because there was just so much amp behind
Mhm.
Williamson and what he was going to do in the NBA. There was talks of him being the next LeBron James. Like it was getting to that point where we were already shooting so high for him to be automatic and superstardom as soon as he stepped foot on the court, and it just we haven't been able to see him play. So
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of disappointing factors when it comes to Zion Williamson and what his future in the NBA is going to be like. But I hope it changes. I don't know if it's going to be in New Orleans. There's been, some buzz about him wanting to make a move off the team that drafted him #1 overall. But yeah, another great example of somebody who may not be too in tune with their body enough to compete at a professional level.
Yeah, such a high level and as
Yeah.
talented and you said explosive as he is.
Literally
Yeah,
exploding out of his shoes.
exploding out of his shoes, exploding out of his shoes, and then the bulk that he carries. I know his like I said his body and his nutrition is probably just different, just the way his body's
Yeah.
constructed. But getting in shape and that's and him being out of shape is hurting him. And is hurting his his ankles and his legs. Is that it's all that weight that he's
Yeah.
carrying. So I just hope that he can get healthy, get right, because like he's an explosive, talented player. I just want to see him out there. Just
Right. We just want to see him play. We want to
see him
see what
play.
he's
Yeah,
capable of.
right.
We want to see like what kind of NBA professionalism he's going to have as a player. And it's been really disappointing for the last 2 seasons. He's
Yeah.
going to go into his 3rd season, and he might have played 20 less than 30 games. So there's still a lot to unlock when it comes to Zion Williamson. So I hope that it just comes together for him because he is a once in a lifetime type of talent.
Yeah.
And it's just, we got to see him play.
Yep, got to see him play. I mean, like I said, the best ability is the availability. So,
Exactly.
you got to have that, and they're not out there. Some of these superstar players are just getting hurt and everything, so getting injured. But let's talk about these teams that are in the playoffs that are relevant right now. Playoffs? We're talking about the playoffs. Playoffs. So let's get into the playoffs and this playoff picture. Let's talk about the play-in teams first.
Okay.
Let's talk in the East. You got Brooklyn, Cleveland, Atlanta, and Charlotte. They're still battling for those last 2 spots, and they will be playing their upcoming next week actually. And who do you like to come out of those 4 teams to make the play-in games in the East first? We'll go.
All right. So I know that everybody's wanting to say Brooklyn and KD and Kyrie and all that kind of noise, but I really, really want to see Atlanta come out of this play-in tournament.
Okay.
Watching them, I know that's not the most popular answer, but especially after last night, watching them compete against the #1 seed in the East in the Miami Heat, that game was mind-blowing. Like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, they just have a lot of young talent. Bogdanovich is great. Kevin Herter, I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Yep, Herter,
Williams, and also obviously Trae Young. I mean, the way that he was able to stay competitive in Miami last night, it gives me hope for this young Atlanta team that we saw go to. Was it an Eastern Conference Finals last season, and they lost to the Bucks? So. That's definitely a team that I want to see continue to come back because I think they have a lot of fire in them, a lot of young talent that is going to be explosive. So I think the Hawks are going to be that team to watch in the play-in.
Yeah, I like I said, I think Brooklyn gets in because Brooklyn shouldn't be in this predicament. But
they should not. No, Courtney. Yeah. They should not be in this situation.
No,
and
not at all.
They are like. I'm sorry, but I have a really bad feeling that Brooklyn is going to slip up because they should not have put themselves in this situation. I mean, you can't go from competing for the Eastern Conference Final, being a shoe size away from making it to an NBA final, to being at the bottom of the play-in tournament. Just it's completely mind-blowing. Just that's another team that has just been surrounded by so much criticism, so much negativity. James Harden got the heck up out of there. Kyrie doesn't want to play at home games because of his own personal choices. It's just there's just a lot to unfold when it comes to Brooklyn.
Yeah, and then the craziest thing of all that, they still might be one of the best teams in the East because of, like you said, because of the Kevin Durant. You have somebody like Kevin Durant, and they went through so much drama. You said they had the Kyrie situation, the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. Is he going to play home games and all that? Personal choice, as you said.
Yeah.
But now he's able to play home games and. They're trying to get him going. They try to get their chemistry going.
Courtney, I gotta ask you: did you find it disrespectful that Kyrie sat courtside at the Brooklyn Nets, Barclays Arena, whatever it's called, before he was given permission that he was allowed? Did you find that disrespectful? Because I'm sorry, but if we take it back to the day in like old NBA, that kind of behavior would not be tolerated. Not only by the front office, not only by your bosses, but by your locker room. Like your peoples are not going to be okay with that. Like that's just it's disrespect to a whole nother level. So I mean, as much as I love Kyrie and his talent, and there's a lot of question marks when it comes to Kyrie Irving and the decisions that he make that he may find personal, but at the end of the day, they hurt the locker room, they hurt the team, and they hurt their chances on winning a chip. So I don't know, a lot of big question marks when it comes to Kyrie.
Yeah, and then there was just a lot of drama. They were like a soap opera. You broke it down. The Kyrie situation, James Harden leaving. They're getting Ben Simmons, who's
now Ben Simmons isn't available to play for the whole regular season. So it's like,
So is he going to be available if they make the playoffs? We don't know. I think he sits out the whole year. I don't think Brooklyn. I know people still feel, and Vegas definitely feels like they're still the favorites, and I don't, because of all the there's too much situations on that team that hasn't been, they gotta play together. They gotta have everybody together. They've lost Joe Harris. He's been out. They don't have enough depth. Seth Curry, he's been playing well. He was playing well for Philly, and he just transitioned, but he's playing on a sprained ankle now. So Brooklyn's got a lot of question marks. I know they do have KD, and that can be enough. And if, like I said, Kyrie just gets right, and he's been balling lately. So I don't know. It I guess depends on matchups with Brooklyn. I think they're going to be one of the teams that get in. The other team, like you said, Atlanta, I think they've had a disappointing season because they were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year.
Yeah.
And they struggled from the beginning, and now they're fighting to stay in to try to get in. But don't count Cleveland out either. Cleveland has been a huge step up from what they were. I didn't know that Darius Garland is balling. I didn't think they were gonna be this good this soon. And they were in the top 5 most of the season. They just slipped. They just slipped down at the towards the end of the year.
Yeah, like after the All-Star break, I kind of feel like they were a little bit on a downward spiral because they definitely kept it up in the first half of the season. But Cleveland is definitely that sleeper team that I would love to see come out of the play-in tournament, because that's one of the teams that everybody's been counting out from the very beginning. And as you said in Garland, I mean, it's been impressive to see that young roster achieve and beat the teams that we've seen them beat this season.
Yeah, Cleveland had even if they don't make the playoffs, if they don't get in, this has been a great season, a good step for them. And then you got the Hornets, so with LaMelo Ball, and they're still they don't play a lot, they don't play any defense, but they're in. He said he likes to see the Hornets. That was a comment, and Ben says Brooklyn the train wreck. It has been. Been a huge
and I'll make one more comment about the Brooklyn Nets. As impressive and as great as Kevin Durant is, he's never had the responsibility to play all aspects and go as hard as he has in Brooklyn. I mean, When he was with OKC, he had James Harden, he had Russell Westbrook, he had Ibaka, or not Ibaka. He had, I can't think of his name right now. It's slipping me.
It was
Yeah,
Ibaka.
he had Ibaka.
Yep.
So I mean, there was a lot of key players that took a lot of the responsibilities of rebounding, offensive rebounding, getting to the free throw line, shooting threes, playing defense. He had a lot of help around him. When he was at Golden State, he had some sharp shooters and Seth Curry, Klay Thompson. He had Draymond Green and Iguodala that was playing monster defense. Like, there was a lot of other key players that were helping him achieve the goals that he's achieved. When it comes to Brooklyn, all the responsibility is on you, KD.
Yeah.
Everybody's passing the ball to you. Everybody's expecting you to make the shots. Take the ball down the court. Just completely bring everybody together. And I just think that's what Brooklyn's problem is right now, is they're relying too much on Kevin Durant. And you could see him towards the midway of the fourth quarter. The guy is gassed. He's playing 38, 40 minutes a game. He's just completely gassed. So I think it's crucial for those supporting cast and Andrew Drummond and Seth Curry and those players that they picked up in that trade. It's unfortunate that Ben Simmons is not going to be playing in the play-in, because I felt like the reason why Ben Simmons was a good move was because they were missing that defensive factor. They were missing that dog that was going to be willing to put his body on the line to play great defense. And they really needed that out of Ben Simmons. So it's a little bit of a head scratcher. Is it really a back injury that's keeping him out, or is he just trying to stick it to Philly, who doesn't want to pay him the rest of his contract after he left Philly? A lot of question marks around Ben Simmons, but it's just, KD, for him to have success, for him to make it through this play-in tournament, he's going to need everybody around him to step up and play to their best abilities. Because KD, you're a monster, you're a unicorn, but you can't do everything.
Right. He did right. He needs those that's why him and Kyrie came together to lead this team. I think we won't see Brooklyn really prosper until next season. I think when they get everybody, all the pieces together with Ben Simmons, because like you said, we don't even know where Ben Simmons' head is at. We don't know. As you said, you're right. Is he sticking it to Philly? Is it a back injury? Is it because he's trying to get his mental right? And which is fine, to try to get that mental right, because we talked about this before. Me and you talked about this before with the mental health and how serious it is. And if that's the case, then he needs to get that situated first. And then get in. But like I said, I don't think we're going to see Brooklyn, because you got to get everyone healthy on board. They, like I said, they haven't had Kyrie. They had Kyrie half the season because he was only playing road games at the time. But now they're in the mix. And I think if they get in, they're a dangerous team because of Kevin Durant, because of all the aspects you talked about. I mean, this guy's one of the best, if not the best player in the league, to some, the best player in the league. Could he put this team on his back and get through that brutal East, which I want to transition to now, with all those teams in the East, all those top teams? Miami, number one. Right now, as we doing this, taping the show, the Milwaukee Bucks, the defending champions, are the 2 seed. Celtics are the 3 seed. 4 is Philly. Number 5 is Toronto, who jumped up as a surprise team coming in. And then the Bulls are 6, and then we're just missing those 2 spots. So the East is loaded up top. So I'll put you on the spot. If you had to pick, which team you think is coming out of the East?
All right. If I had to pick a team that is coming out of the East at this point in the season, a team that really is standing out to me, not only because I feel like they have, the league MVP on their roster, but just the way that they're playing, and everything is just really clicking for them. And with Brook Lopez returning, that big man for the Milwaukee Bucks made a huge difference defensively at this point in the season. I'm going to have to go with the reigning NBA champions from last year in the Milwaukee Bucks. That's going to be my team coming out of the East. Looking at the big picture right now, I just think Milwaukee is firing from all cylinders. Bobby Portis is playing amazing. This guy has become like an all-star three-point shooter out of nowhere, as well as being able to get down the court and play great defense. There's just a lot of great athletes. I mean, they have a great coach as well with the Milwaukee Bucks. I just think that right now they're firing from all cylinders, and Giannis Antetokounmpo has solve those problems at the 3-point line. You don't want to put Giannis on the free point line anymore because he's making both of those baskets. Yes. He's been improving his 3-point shooting. We don't need him to shoot a ton of threes. We really don't. I mean, that's why we have Drew Holiday. That's why we got Chris Middleton, and now Bobby Portis is elevating his 3-point game as well. So we don't need Giannis to be a 3-point shooter. We just need him to get open in the post. And as soon as you feed him the ball in the post, he's going to take it to the hole. And it's been an impressive one for Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks. If I had to look at the Eastern Conference playoff picture right now, I would think Milwaukee's going to take it away again and go to another NBA championship.
100% agree. I picked Milwaukee to get to the finals again. I picked them way in the beginning of the year when I did my NBA preview show. And now
run the tape. Somebody run the tape. I gotta know
that tape. Hear that. You can run that tape. Like I said, as they say, if you don't know Google, they say Google me now. But yes, when I did my NBA preview show, I had Bucks Golden State as my champion, as my finals. The Warriors depends on health of Steph Curry coming up. But you're right. Milwaukee's firing on all cylinders. The MVP is playing MVP again. Putting everyone back on notice. Don't forget, you can talk about KD, you can talk about LeBron, you can talk about Joker, you can talk about Joel Embiid. Don't forget, I am the Finals MVP, 2-time MVP. Might be 3. It's going to be close. I think Joel Embiid has cemented himself to win the MVP. But the Bucks they're getting healthy. They're, like you said, they're firing all cylinders. Drew Holiday's been a monster, like always. Still got Chris Middleton. You talked about Bobby Portis playing a lot of minutes. Brook Lopez is back healthy in the mix. They got depth. They got it all. They got everything to get back and repeat.
And Mike Budenholzer is one of the best coaches right now in the NBA.
Yes, definitely is. And I do not want to play Milwaukee. They got the length, they got the size. They could go small. And if Giannis he just puts his head down and just drives to the hole, he can foul. You can't stop him. But now he's hitting his free throws, hitting threes. He's put it all. He has put it all together. So I like the Bucks too to come out of the East. Let's talk about a couple of these other teams. They said, like I said, it's loaded at the top of the East. That 1 through 5, and give the Bulls to the mix too. I think the Bulls have slipped a lot now that Lonzo Ball's out too.
Yeah. I think Lonzo missed 32 games.
Yeah, and he's out for the rest of the year.
Knee. Yep. Yeah, that's sprained knee, which is really unfortunate because I was hoping that Lonzo was going to have one of those seasons where he could have stuck it to the Lakers, stuck it to the Pelicans, and been like, you know what, I'm better off without either of these teams. So really disappointing for Lonzo Ball.
Right. I mean, yes, me too. Now we got the Miami Heat, who was in the finals 2 seasons ago. They're the number 1 seed. They're a team that's a lot of people are kind of sleeping on Miami. They still got the grit. They still got the toughness. They got Jimmy Buckets, Jimmy Butler. They had that blow up with him and Spoelstra and Udonis Haslem a couple weeks ago. But maybe all that frustration, they were losing the teams they wasn't supposed to. They put that all on the table now. And
they were losing to a Golden State team that had no Klay Thompson, no Steph Curry, no Draymond Green. Like they were literally losing to Jordan Poole, like the whole entire game. Like Jordan Poole went on like a 13-0 run and late in the fourth quarter.
Himself,
and it just completely fell apart for the Miami Heat. But I will say the Miami Heat has held their own throughout the season. They are the number 1 seed in the East. They need all the flowers. They need all the respect. Kyle Lowry, you guys don't remember this name. You should look him up. He won a championship with the Raptors. He is well respected in the league. He is a great, great leader in the locker room, as well as his 3-point ability, the way that he's able to officiate the ball, or not officiate, but you know what I'm trying to say? Just
the ball.
An outstanding player. I think Kyle Lowry being added to that roster was one of the best things Miami could have done in the offseason.
It's paying dividends now with Kyle Lowry because you added him to already a good defensive team where, that's what Spoelstra's about. He's all about the, teaching defense, preaching defense, and they're just a tough, gritty team. Yeah. I wouldn't want to play them. Like, if I'm any of these bottom teams, I don't want to run into Miami. Because like you said, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, these guys are. Tyler Hero he's been hooping all year.
Yeah.
And They have the roster to actually get back to the finals. It's almost the same roster, just as you said. They added Kyle Lowry, who is a champion, who won a championship in Toronto.
Yeah, I think the only difference was they plugged in Kyle Lowry and they got rid of Gordon Dragic, who went to the Nets, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's on the Nets.
Steve Nash in the Nets. Yeah.
Yep. So I wouldn't want to play Miami because they're versatile. They're, like I said, they're tough. They play D.
And Bam Adebayo is a beast, rebounding monster, throwing the alley-oop. He's putting it in the hole. Outstanding center. Probably one of the best centers in the league right now.
Yeah, agreed. So Miami's going to be in the mix, of course. I agree. What do you think of Boston too? I mean, they've had what a turnaround year.
Oh man,
especially from the beginning.
I'm sorry, I still cannot pronounce the head coach's name, but I'm just so happy with the success the Boston Celtics has been having as his. I believe this is his first year coaching the Boston Celtics. Absolutely outstanding. I'm so glad that they kept Jaylen Brown and they were able to keep that camaraderie between their offense with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. It's just been outstanding to watch. They did have a little bit rough of a start to the season, but then they really started taking off after the All-Star game. I believe they were tied with the Dallas Mavericks they won like 24 out of the 27 games after the All-Star break. They were just completely on fire. And then Robert Williams got hurt. And I was just like,
big blow.
No, they were doing so good. Like, that was their center. He was so impactful. Offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding, just get into the hole, get into the 3-point line. Just a really class act, outstanding kid. Very young guy as well. But he was so dominant in the paint that was going to be a big bruise for the Boston Celtics. But there is rumors that he should be returning in a week or so. I don't know if that's accurate, but Robert Williams is definitely going to be a key piece for the Boston Celtics to stay successful in this playoff run.
They definitely need him because even
Daniel Tice is one of those guys that annoys the heck out of me. He can play really good, and then the next play he gives up a rebound. It just he's too inconsistent. So we need Robert Williams to return healthy.
Yeah, he missed that layup against the Bucks. Then that type of game,
wide open layup, he got around Giannis, was completely wide open, and then missed it.
Just blew it. Yep, blew the layup and everything instead of just trying to dunk it. I mean, I know Giannis was right on him, so he probably got a little bit intimidated a little bit. But Celtics having an unbelievable year. Jason Tatum, I mean, him and Jaylen Brown, they can win you a series. Just those two alone, and the way Mark Smart's been playing well. But like you said, the Robert Williams. That was a huge blow. To lose him. And they were playing at a high level. They were number 1 seed at one time, but they're third now. They probably will be finished. They probably will finish third or fourth. But if Robert Williams comes back, they're going to be tough because I love Tatum. He can put this team on his back. And they finally learned, him and Jaylen Brown, and finally learned, Tatum, they tell Tatum, you don't have to lead by yourself. You got other guys that can step up and help you out. Then you come in and then be that assassin in the third, fourth quarter. So they finally figured out how that works. So Celtics will be tough. What do you think here in Philly? What do you think of that with James Harden and Joel Embiid?
So just a quick injury update for the Boston Celtics fans out there. Brad Stevens regarding Robert Williams and his left knee meniscus tear does not change regarding his injury status. Williams is still expected to miss the first round of the NBA postseason with his injury that he suffered on March 29th against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So they're hoping that he's going to be available for the next round, but not going to stay, 100% sold on that. So they're going to need Daniel Tice and Al Horford to really step up in the postseason to at least get him into that next round so he can return healthy. So let's talk about them 76ers right now.
Yeah, let's talk
Mr.
about
Joel Embiid. I think right now they're sitting, they're sitting fourth right now.
Yep.
50 wins, 31 losses. I mean, what else can you say other than they really want to stick it to Ben Simmons and have success in this postseason and at least will make it to an Eastern Conference championship? Do they have the opportunity to do that? I believe so. I think Joel Embiid is playing miraculously. The way he's able to, orchestrate the offense the way he's able to rebound. He gets steals. You could take him to the 3-point line. He's putting in both buckets. Just all around a great player, outstanding player. I think he motivates his teammates around him. And I think he really wants to stick it to Ben Simmons and have a little bit more legitimacy in this postseason. And I know that he's still crying over what Kawhi Leonard did to him a couple years back. In that, I know he's still crying over that. You saw the tears, Courtney.
Yes, we did.
That was some real deal right there.
Yeah,
so
that was a real deal tears, right? Yes, it was. And he's probably still having images of that ball bouncing 7-8 times, and it was a bouncing out, and it was like boop, and it went right in. So
and I also think that Doc Rivers has a lot to prove. I mean, there's been a lot of talk, a lot of criticism about how he coaches in the postseason, how he doesn't put his team in the best positions to win. So I think a lot of that is going to be unfolded right now because you're in a new roster. You got Joel Embiid, you have superstars. Let's see what you can do.
It's going to be, and it's all about the matchups. A lot of pressure on Doc, a lot of pressure on James Harden as well. Because as you said, Joel Embiid is going to come to play. I mean, he's the MVP. I think those last few games, he's been dominant again. And it's up to Doc Rivers and James Harden. And I know we talked about it before when this trade happened. I was excited because they needed a guy like a James Harden. But now James Harden has to step up in the playoffs, and that's where it counts. And that's where he disappoints is that postseason. So if things going to change, is he going to still become James Harden in the regular season? It hasn't done it throughout his career. So let's see if now he has Embiid. They can run that 1-2 punch. They have enough because they have a guy like Joel Embiid who's going to get you. He's going to get you buckets and get you, far. But it's all about the matchup, and they're going to be playing. If they finish 4th and Toronto finish 5th, they don't want to play that Toronto Raptors team. That's a hungry team, and the way they've been playing, and the way Nick Nurse has these guys balling right now, and man, that's been a surprise of how good they've been, and in the 5th seed. So it's all about matchups, I think, with Philly.
I think it's going to be crucial for James Harden to really be that offensive facilitator and to make his shots. He needs to put the ball in the basket. I think Tyrese Maxey is going to be another big component, whether or not the 76ers are going to be successful in the postseason. He's been a little bit iffy in the past couple weeks, so I think it's going to be crucial for him to at least average 15 to 18 points throughout the postseason to help the 76ers be successful.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think Maxey and I think
Danny Green, where you at, Danny? You got all the veteran experience. You've been in these positions time and time again.
Right.
I believe you got 3 rings with 3 different teams. What is it? The Spurs, the Raptors, and the Lakers, right? Yeah, 3 different teams. So it's just time to shine.
Yes, and they have pieces. And I think, and then you got Tobias Harris. I think, but they've been trying to adjust with James Harden, and Harden's trying to adjust to them, but they don't have enough time. You got to get rolling now. The playoffs starting, and I think it's an adjustment, and they just got to figure out Maxey and Tybalt, and they got to figure it out how to play with James Harden going into the postseason. So James Harden's got to be that facilitator and score when he needs to, and let Embiid do his thing, but now you got to be that secondary guy, and we'll see if he can. We'll see if he can adjust, because come playoff time, like I said, James Harden disappoints normally, so we'll see what happens. David said why we had to bring that up with Kawhi Leonard hitting that shot and Embiid going through therapy with it. So, and the last of that, I'm looking forward to see what Embiid does in the playoffs with Harden. Yeah, it's going to be interesting because they swung for the fences. They won a championship, and you said Doc Rivers, great regular season coach, but always questionable in the playoffs with his coaching. So we'll see how that goes. But let's move over to the Western Conference, and let's talk about the play-in, as we talked about the disappointing Lakers. So the play-in right now looks like the seeding is good. I think it's Minnesota 7. What a surprise they've been. The Minnesota Timberwolves finally getting over the hump and playing well. Your Clippers, what a season they've had. I mean, to still be in the mix with the injuries they've had. Got the Clippers represent always. The Pelicans, shout out to Damian. I know he's a Pelicans fan. And then the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, Popovich still leading the charge with the Spurs, under 500 team, but they're in the play-in. Just don't know. I don't think they're going to make it. But Who do you think? What two teams you think are going to come out of this playing game?
All right, I am so surprised that the Clippers ended their regular season 40 for 40, just to hit that 500 mark, because having Kawhi Leonard be unavailable from the start of the season to now, having Paul George miss 45 games this
Half the
season,
season.
just hasn't been available at all. And I mean, he's coming back on fire, but I mean, we needed this the whole entire season. So for them to even be in this position right now, I am completely shocked. I think that attests a lot to Tyronn Lue and his coaching ability, how he's able to be in those situations where Frank Vogel finds himself, where you don't have your superstars. So what you gonna do? You're actually it actually is gonna take some time to coach. You're actually gonna have to take a piece of paper and a pen and write your notes down and just be completely involved in orchestrating your offense with whatever players that you have available. So I think the Clippers have a really big chance to make it out of this play-in tournament. That's going to be my team. Minnesota, Karl Anthony Towns, you've always been a class act, but Minnesota doesn't even deserve to really be on this list in the play-in tournament. So I'm going to say the Clippers are going to take that one home. Especially with Paul George returning and Reggie Jackson playing phenomenal, and it seems like he's heating up at the right time. The San Antonio Spurs, man, is that a shocker? I really did not think that they were going to trump the Lakers in that 10th seed, but they did just that. So all kudos to Greg Popovich. I had the opportunity to sit behind Greg Popovich and Becky Hammon in the Pelicans versus San Antonio Spurs game a few days before Valentine's Day. That's kind of what I wanted for Valentine's. I wanted to go to New Orleans and I wanted to go sit behind Greg Popovich and Becky Hammon behind the bench. So that was a great experience. But they have such a young roster. And I think Popovich kind of looks at that and like he accepts the challenge. I've talked to a couple of San Antonio Spurs ring announcers and radio announcers, and they've talked about how this young roster has really brought back life for Greg Popovich, who is, going into his late mid 70s and is getting up there in age. He's been doing this for 50 years. So this young roster is really breathing some life into him. So it's great to see them in this play-in tournament. It should be interesting that they're matching up with the New Orleans Pelicans, who seem to be heating up at the right time as well. But out of all the play-in teams, I want to see that the Clippers make it out. And I feel bad for whoever is going to fall into the 9th seed, and who is ever going to fall into the 8th seed, who's going to have to compete against the Phoenix Suns in the first round. That's a tough cookie.
Yeah, that is tough. And like I said, with the way the bottom teams have been, just some of the coaching that you said with Ty Lue and Popovich, Pop that just shows how great of a coach he is. Like he led this team, even though they're 34 and 46, but they're in the play-in, and you just don't know, anything can happen. They could actually get on a run and actually make the playoffs, get that AC. I mean, it's possible because Popovich is such a great coach, one of the best coaches we've ever seen. And this has been a challenge for him with that young roster. But he's got them, like I said, they're in over the Lakers. Who would have thought that they would actually get into the playoffs? I didn't think the Spurs were going to be this good at all, or at least should get into the play-in at all. So, and then Ty Lue leading the Clippers to that 500 record without two of his best players ever. So
basically the whole season. I mean, not even having Kawhi Leonard since before the Western Conference Finals last year. So, I mean, there's a lot of deal breakers that could have came into the scenario for the Clippers. I mean, who knows where they could have been in their season if they had their two superstars playing healthy. But they're in a good position to make it into this play-in to win in this play-in tournament and actually compete in the postseason.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been crazy what has happened. And like Damian said, the Pelicans started 1-13. Willie Green has done a great job turning around. Yeah, another coach, another young coach that's done that and what he's done and got the Pelicans in the play-in too. So big shout out to Al High. Thank you for tuning in and jumping on. He said Coach Paz maximized with his roster, and you check out his show too. He's got a couple of great shows on the BS3 network as well. And he said the Pelicans will get the AC, and he'll be at Game 1 versus the Suns. So that's to get that. If the Pelicans get in, that would be something, So let's see what happens there with this with the play. But I think it's gonna be Minnesota Clippers get into the 7th and 8th seed
Yeah.
moving forward. So let's talk about the West and the Western teams. You got the Suns, the reigning Western Conference contenders that was in the finals last year. You got the up and coming Memphis Grizzlies. I just read that John Morant, man, they've been playing well with and without John Morant. And me and you talked about great how great John Morant's been playing, what what the Grizzlies have been doing, be getting that second seed, that number 2 seed. They're gonna be a dangerous team in the playoffs. Golden State Warriors, we'll get to see what they got going with Steph Curry. Steph said he'll be ready for the playoffs, so that's scary for the rest of the league as
Yeah.
well. The Dallas Mavericks, you got with Luka and Jason Kidd leading that way, and Utah and Denver, they round out the top 6. Who do you got on the spot? Who you got coming out of the West?
All right, so my team coming out of the West, I really, really want to see Seth Curry come back healthy and help lead his Golden State Warriors to a Western Conference Finals. I would love to see the matchup of Phoenix and Golden State in the Western Conference Finals. And I would say if Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala, Seth Curry, if they all stay healthy, I have the Golden State Warriors coming out of the West.
Wow.
Because, the man could still compete. Seth Curry, he's already talked about. I know that you've heard the podcast where LeBron James was asked, who
Yeah.
do you want to play with in your career? And he's
Yes.
like, I want to play with Seth Curry because you got to start guarding him as soon as he gets out of bed in the morning. Because
Yeah.
it's true. Like the man at this age is still able to play at such an elite level. And it's Steve Kerr is such an outstanding NBA coach, and they've been in those post-game predicaments so many times, and they have the experience. They have the veterans that are hungry, that are so loyal to the organization that they were willing to put their bodies on the line to win and be put in opportunities to be in another to compete for another national championship. So if I had to pick a team right now, I would say if Steph Curry comes back healthy, the Golden State Warriors are making it out of the West.
Well, I think we agree. We agree on this one too. Like I said, I think the Warriors. I'd never change. So I got to pick the Warriors if Steph Curry's healthy. They definitely need a healthy Steph Curry. The thing with the Warriors, and I was talking about this with Damian last week. We were talking about it. They start off hot because the way they were playing, they were healthy and everything too. I think they have their size might be their downfall because they don't have any. They don't have because James Wiseman. He had a setback. What a disappointment. I mean, getting him, I thought would help. And they never got a big team, so they got to have Draymond play center, which is not always the best because Draymond's still he's a shorter player, but he's gonna have to bang with some of those bigs in the West. He can do it. I mean, he's capable still. But the Warriors, they got the depth. They do have depth that's helped them throughout this. The young players have played a lot of minutes. That's helped them because they've had some injuries with Draymond. Now with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson just came back. So if those guys could just get it together, because Klay's been up and down, understandably so, because he's been, he's missed 2.5 years of basketball, so it's going to be rusty. He's not going to be Klay Thompson immediately and everything too. But you're seeing flashes. So if you could get that going, they had the experience with those 3 guys. I mean, they've won 3 championships together, so it's not like they could just come in. And hopefully they can put it together. But Phoenix Suns are for real. They're still the real. They still are the real deal in the league because with Chris Paul, the ultimate leader, he was out and Phoenix still were the top seed. That's just showing how good Devin Booker's been and how good Aiton's been. And the roster they have, they brought back everybody so they can run it back. So they're going to be a tough out. And Al High says that the Grizzlies are for real. They are for real. That's a team. I just usually when youth comes into the playoffs, it hurts. Sometimes it doesn't help, but they're hungry. They have a guy like John Morant who can get buckets in this time in the playoffs. They are for real. They got depth. They got good coaching.
Yeah, they play
They
so well
yeah.
offensively.
Hmm.
They're just so in sync.
Athletic,
And
yes.
they won so many games without their superstar John
Hmm.
Morant. So it already seems like they already have that camaraderie that they're going to play with whoever they got healthy, and they're still going to make things happen. I mean, it's been miraculous the way that they've been playing without John Morant. I believe he missed about 15 games this season, and if I'm not mistaken, they only lost 2 of those games that John Morant was
Yeah.
out. So I mean, that attests a lot to the coaching staff as well, how they're able to manipulate their roster when their superstars are out to help them still win games, which is something Frank Vogel may need to take note of with him missing some of his superstars throughout the season. But yeah, Grizzlies are definitely going to be in that fairy tale. We saw them start to really emerge in the playoff bubble
Last
back in
year.
2020, and then we
Hmm.
saw them have a little bit of a nice spark throughout in the postseason last season. So I'm really interested to see how they're going to compete in the postseason in the West. But they are definitely that Cinderella storyline because everybody loves themselves some Ja.
Yeah, they do, and he's the most explosive and player right now because he's been balling, and it's been great to see in the athleticism. They're
And
good,
if I'm not mistaken, he's only like 6 feet tall, right? And he's still
yeah,
able
six
to
one,
get
yeah,
above the rim.
yeah.
If they were to do some type of incentives that would kind of coerce these NBA players to be more involved in the dunk contest, I would love to see Ja Morant,
Yeah.
compete in that
Oh
dunk
my goodness,
contest
as athletic
because
as
he's
he
electric.
is, electric, explosive, and they got a really good shot. And I just hope that that lack of experience doesn't come back. But they could actually get to the Western Conference Finals with the right matchup. And we'll see what they're very capable. Very
Yeah.
capable, as you said. They got that little bit of experience in the playoffs last year. They lost to Utah in the first round. They got in the play-in. They beat the Warriors to get to the playoffs last year in the playing game
I
of
remember
last
that.
season. That was a great game with Steph versus Ja, and so they got that a little bit of experience. So yeah, they're a tough team. What do you think of Dallas and Utah and Denver as well? What do you think of those 3 teams? Do you think they're capable of going
So
on a run?
Denver, I love the way that Denver competes. I love the way that Nikola Jokic has been playing, obviously making a great stance on this MVP conversation. But I really think Jamal Murray not being back for them is the
Yeah.
only thing that's holding them back from being a
Yes.
competitive to come out of the West. They need that sharpshooter. They need that that ball facilitator, and Jamal Murray being out for them has been a really big hole in their side. But I mean, I don't put anything past Jokic. But I would love to see Jamal Murray come back healthy and just come back to his pristine, dropping 15 points, 50 points a game. Just go back into that sharpshooter that we so much love him. Especially we saw a lot of taste of that in the bubble back in 2020 with Jamal Murray. So that is my stance on the Nuggets. What was the other team that you mentioned?
Utah and Dallas.
Okay, so Dallas, led by Jason Kidd and Luka Doncic, they're phenomenal as well. They're playing in sync, but I think they depend a little bit too much on Luka and his ability to shoot at the buzzer. I think defensively they definitely need some improvement. They're letting these other teams score too many points. And I mean, you can't depend on Luka to outscore every team by himself. So that's something that they're definitely going to need to work on. I think trading their trade with they got
Spencer Dinwiddie.
they got Dinwiddie. That was a
Yeah.
great trade for them. I think Jason Kidd has a lot of key pieces to have success with Dallas in the future, but I do not have them coming out of the West this season or even having the opportunity to. And then what was the last team?
Utah. The Utah Jazz.
Utah. Okay, Donovan Mitchell, just he does too much. He like
Mm,
I said, it's another one of
yeah.
those situations that they depend too much on Donovan Mitchell. I think that's going to be their kryptonite this season. And Rudy Gobert hasn't been playing as well as they need him to when it comes to being aggressive and getting those rebounds. So I think that's really going to hurt the Utah Jazz. I saw them play last night Wasn't too impressed with their offensive scheme, but we'll see how that carries out into the postseason. But out of those three teams, I think the Nuggets have the best chance. Out of Dallas, Utah, and the Denver Nuggets, I think the Nuggets have the best chance in the West.
Yeah, and I really, like you said, if they would have had Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr.'s been out
Oh
too,
yeah, he's been gone for like. Is he still out?
Yeah, he's still out. He's out for the rest of the season,
Yeah.
rest of the playoffs. So that hurts them. For them to be still in the mix just shows how great Jokic has been. The Joker has been. So I agree. I think Denver just doesn't have enough without Murray and Michael Porter Jr. Utah is like this every year. It's like they're good enough, but they just can never get over the hump. And I think it's that way this season too. Relying on Donovan Mitchell, as you said, they just rely on him so much. And yes, he can win a series, but he's not going to get too far. I don't think Utah has enough. I think Dallas actually out of those three to me, because of Luka. But like you said, they rely on Luka a lot. But I think Kid now has got Luka to play even more within the team concept. I mean, he does, but he just got playing him more with the team concept, saying you can get your numbers. Long as they don't run into your Clippers, Dallas should be okay, because the Clippers seem like they have their number. They go down 2-0, and then the Clippers just comes right back, and they let Luka go
so happy.
nuts. They let Luka go nuts. He averages 40 usually, but it's not enough. So getting Dinwiddie has definitely helped them. He's become
and
that
he made an
player.
immediate impact offensively for the Dallas Mavericks, and I think they were kind of at a loss when it came to the unicorn.
Porzingis. Yep.
Yes, Porzingis. I think they came to the point where they were just like, it was almost like Anthony Davis. So it's just like, you're spectacular, you play well, but you can't be reliable and you can't stay healthy. So we got to keep it moving. We got to get the next man up, somebody who's really going to have some longevity. And Porzingis just wasn't it for Dallas.
Yeah, it just didn't mix. And there was a lot of rumors that him and Luka didn't get along, and I guess Luka thought like you were gonna be my second guy, like you were supposed to be my wingman, and he just was never healthy.
Yeah, I mean, some people don't do well with being called out. Some people don't do well with other people trying to hold them accountable to their responsibilities. So I think that kind of caused some friction between Luka Doncic and Porzingis, because Luka is that stand-up guy that's gonna be like, it was my fault. Like, I'm going to take full responsibility. I'm going to do better. Porzingis is more of that. What can you say? I guess he's very like, no, don't look at me. Like, I'm the superstar. I don't want any blame. That kind of, mentality. So I think that didn't click well between Luka and Porzingis.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the chemistry, and then when Porzingis is not in, he wasn't available a lot, and it just didn't work out. I thought that was a perfect mix. So, Ruth, I took a lot of your time this weekend.
No, I can't believe it's already been an hour and 25 minutes.
I know, it's crazy.
We spent like 35 minutes just on the Lakers, because that's how bad their situation is. There was a lot to unpeel there.
Yes, but I love how I feel about you. Like
I wish you didn't live in Philly, because I'd be like, yo, come over, let's watch some basketball.
I know, right? Yeah, no, you're in.
I got none of my like friends here in the local area. I just moved to Tampa recently, so I don't have a lot of friends, but they're not into sports. So I'm always just watching sports with my dog. It's literally my dog, like the dog.
We have to do like a watch along or something. We have to figure something out where, and I was I was just in Florida, but I was in Orlando.
Yeah, I saw that. Did you have fun?
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. We was just we went to Universal, we went to Disney Springs. We didn't go to MGM and stuff. We wanted to go to Universal because it's been like 15 years since we've been to Universal. So we said we got to get, because things have changed over the years. So we went to Universal, went to Disney Springs. We had a good time. We had a really, really good time. We got back on Wednesday and everything too. So I was in your neck of the woods, but your old stomping grounds in Orlando. So, but the next time I'm in Florida, we have to like get up, and I'm in Tampa, have to get up and everything.
Yeah. Hey, I spent a lot of time in Orlando. I've lived in Orlando for 20 years. My mom and my sister in Orlando. My nephews are out there. So I do make a lot of trips to Orlando. So if you ever find yourself back in the Central Florida area, let your girl know. We can plan to have lunch. I would love to meet your wife. And
Yeah.
it would be great to finally meet you in person, because we've been doing a lot of this action for a while.
Yeah, a lot of Zoom, a lot of StreamYard.
Like, are you even real? Like,
I know, like, knock, 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 are you real? So, but Ruth, thank you for jumping on this show. Like I said, we do this. This is what we do.
This is what we do.
This is what we do. This is how we do it. So we do this, and I was just so appreciative of the friendship and everything too, and the connection in the sports and life in general. And like I said, every time I hit you up, you're always down. We've done IG lives, we've done this, we've done Zooms, we've done it all. So it's always good to get you on, especially around this time, Super Bowl playoffs, NBA playoffs, anything we can talk about. We've connected. So really appreciate your time. I really value your time and everything. So let everyone know where they can follow you, follow your journey, your podcast. You got a lot going on. So let them know where they can follow you, and just shoot out all those all your social medias and stuff like that.
What's up, everybody? Appreciate you taking the time to listen to the Real Deal podcast with Courtney Harden. My name is Ruth the Truth. Follow me on Twitter, Ruth the Truth, with 3 H's at the end. I'm pretty active on there. I'd like to talk a lot of sports. I'll do a little bit of pop culture, a conversation, a little bit of personal stuff, nothing crazy. I'm also pretty active on Instagram as well, Ruth_the_truth with the number 1 at the end. Follow me. I'll give you a follow back. Like Courtney alluded to, we like to do a lot of IG live things, especially when breaking news happens. We always want to be the first one to put some fire content out there. So make sure to give me a follow at Instagram. And just stay locked in with your girl, Ruth the Truth. Follow the NSPN Next Gen Sports Tampa Bay TV Facebook page. Is the new organization that I'm working alongside with, as well as my own network that I'm still working on with Beauty in the Cleats. Beauty_cleats on Instagram and on Twitter. And just stay locked in with your girl, Ruth the Truth. And Courtney, thank you so much for allowing me to come back on and talk my ish.
Yeah, talk that ish. We know how we do. That's what we do. Like I said, I'm so appreciative, so honored to always have you on. And like I said, I know we'll be doing something again during the playoffs. We'll probably do a pop-in.
See you next time.
Yes, IG live pop-in. That's what we did last time. We did it right there in the finals. So let's see. We'll see. We agreed on the team. So it's Bucks and Warriors. So we'll see how that goes. But hope everyone enjoys their weekend. Enjoy these playoffs, because it's about to be, as the young kids say, it's gonna be lit. It's gonna be lit, as the youngins say. So, but again, I thank you for tuning in, everyone. Thank you, Ruth, for jumping on the show once again, and enjoy the rest of the weekend. Enjoy the playoffs, and we'll be talking probably tomorrow. We'll probably talk tomorrow.
Yes.
So, all right, girl, have a good one, and I'll be
Thanks,
talking to you
Courtney.
soon. All right, have a good one.
Bye, everybody.